All right, let's dive straight in. May 4th, 2025. You'll want to mark your calendars. New York City FC squaring off against FC Cincinnati.
Yep, City Field, 3 o'clock Eastern,
Exactly. Looks like maybe some clouds. Could be a bit of rain even.
possibly. But that's not really what we're digging into today, is it?
No. We're going much deeper into, well, algorithmic analysis, AI predictions.
Right. We've got this match analysis report. It's from the Gambler's Roan project, and it uses their SmartBet AI technology.
SmartBet AI version 4.0.3 specifically for the MLS you mentioned.
That's the one. So forget gut feelings or just, hunches. This is data-driven, a prediction engine trying to figure out the beautiful game.
And think of this deep dive as your shortcut, really, to understanding how these complex predictions actually get made.
Yeah, we're not just giving you a score prediction and calling it a day.
No way. We're cracking open the methods, looking at how the AI gets there. It's fascinating stuff, goes way beyond just who feels lucky.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And it's detailed. The report even factors in the injuries. Like for NYCFC, you've got Arroyave, Elenia, and Jones out.
Right, and Cincinnati.
They're missing Hidabi and Kubo. And these are just footnotes, The AI treats these as actual inputs into its calculations.
Okay, so let's get into the nuts and bolts of this SmartBet AI. What's the core technology here?
What's really interesting is that it doesn't just rely on one thing. It blends statistical methods like something called Poisson regression with machine learning models.
Machine learning, okay. Which ones?
Specifically, it uses random forest, XGBoost, and a multilayer perceptron neural network. So it's kind of attacking the prediction from different angles.
Multiple angles. Let's start with that Poisson regression. Sounds a bit academic. How does that actually help predict goals?
It's a statistical way to predict how often something might happen over a period. In this case, goals scored in 90 minutes.
Okay, like predicting website visits or something like that.
It's exactly like that. It looks at a whole bunch of factors. Things like recent form, obviously, team strength. It uses these dynamic ELO ratings that change based on results.
ELO ratings like in chess.
Sort of, yeah, adapted for team sports. Then there's home advantage, injuries, like we mentioned, and it even pulls in information from the betting markets, what the odds are suggesting.
Okay, so it's processing a lot of different data points. What did it spit out for the specific NYCFC versus Cincinnati game, goal-wise?
So the initial prediction, just the baseline, is 1.50 goals for New York City, FC, and 1.52 for FC Cincinnati. Very close.
Very close indeed. But you said there's more to it. Something about bootstrapping.
Yeah, this is pretty clever. It uses bootstrapped Poisson regression.
Bootstrapped. What does that actually mean in this context?
Well, instead of just relying on that single 1.50 versus 1.52 prediction, it runs the model many, many times, like 1,000 times here, each time tweaking the input data slightly.
Okay. Why do that?
It gives you a sense of the uncertainty, a range of possible outcomes rather than just one number. It simulates the goal probabilities based on these slightly varied models.
Okay. So it reflects the randomness inherent in a match. What did the bootstrap results show?
They showed NYCFC averaging 1.54 predicted goals, but with a 95% confidence interval between 0.0 and 4.0 goals.
0 to 4 goals. That's quite a range.
It is. And for Cincinnati, it's an average of 1.48 goals with the same 95% confidence interval, 0 to 4 goals.
So the averages are still super close, but the range tells you, well, anything could happen on the day.
Precisely. It highlights the variability. A blowout isn't impossible, nor is a goalless draw, statistically speaking, even if less likely.
Right. And you mentioned the Poisson models look at specific factors. Can you give us a taste of what those are without getting too bogged down in stats talk?
Sure. If you peek inside the model results, you see variables like home form, home advantage, home XG, that's expected goals, basically the quality of chances they create.
Okay, XG, yeah, hear that a lot.
Then there's market probe home, which is the win probability implied by the betting odds, home injuries, the home ELO rating we talked about.
And even things about the total goals.
Yeah, market probe over 25 or under 25 odds for over or under 2.5 goals, and market pros whether both teams are likely to score according to the market. And similar stuff for the away team, obviously.
Okay, that makes sense. It's using a wide net to capture different influences, so that covers the number of goals. What about the overall result, win, draw, lose? That's where the machine learning comes in.
Exactly. That's the job for the other models. Random Forest, XGBoost, and the MLP neural network. They're trained on historical match data to classify the outcome.
Right. Can you give us the simple explanation for each? Random forest?
Think of it like building hundreds of different decision trees, like flowcharts asking questions about the match data. Each tree votes on the outcome, and the majority wins.
Okay. And XG boost.
XGBoost is maybe a bit more sophisticated. It builds trees sequentially. Each new tree tries to correct the mistakes the previous trees made. It's focused on boosting the accuracy iteratively.
Learning from mistakes, got it. And the neural network, the MLP.
That one's more like a simplified brain, a network of interconnected nodes or neurons.
Yeah.
It learns to recognize really complex patterns in the data that the other models might miss.
Okay, 3 different ways of learning. So the big question, what did each of these predict for our NYC FC versus Cincinnati game? This is where it gets juicy.
It really is. So the random forest model, it predicts an away win for FC Cincinnati.
Away win. Okay. XG boost?
XGBoost predicts a home win for New York City FC.
Whoa, okay. Opposite predictions. And the neural network.
The MLP neural network agrees with the random forest. It also predicts an away win.
Huh. So 2 models point to Cincinnati, 1 points to NYCFC. The AI itself doesn't have a consensus here.
Not among the individual models, no. And that's a really important finding in itself, right? It tells you this isn't an easy match to call, even for the AI.
Definitely. And you mentioned these classification reports that come with it. What do they tell us?
They basically measure how well each model performed during its training phase on past data. They look at things like precision, when it predicted, say, away win, how often was it right? And recall of all the actual away wins in the data, how many did it catch?
Okay, so it's like a report card for the model's past performance.
Pretty much. And the F1 score just balances precision and recall. It helps understand the strengths and weaknesses of each model's predictive power for each outcome class: home win, draw, away win.
Right, and there was that other term, SMOT. Was that relevant here?
SIS, EOOT,
This.
catch. It stands for Synthetic Minority Oversampling Technique.
Still sounds technical.
Yeah. Basically, in soccer data, draws are often less frequent than wins. SESMOD is a technique used during the training process to artificially create more examples of the minority class like draws, so the models learn to recognize and predict them better. It helps avoid bias towards just predicting wins.
Okay, so it's about balancing the training data so the AI doesn't just ignore the less common results. Makes sense. So we have these conflicting individual predictions. How does SmartBet AI resolve this? How does it give a final verdict?
It uses something called a stacked ensemble.
Stacked ensemble. Okay, what's the concept?
Think of it like a manager for the other models. It takes the predictions from the random forest, XGBoost, and the neural network as inputs into another machine learning model, a meta model.
Okay.
This meta model learns, based on past performance, which of the base models is likely to be more reliable under different circumstances. It essentially weighs their opinions to make a final, hopefully more robust prediction.
So it's like a super predictor learning from the other predictors. Interesting. And what did the stacked ensemble, the manager, decide for this match?
The stacked ensemble prediction is a home win for New York City FC.
Home win. So it ultimately sided with the XG boost model, even though the other two pointed to an away win. Fascinating how it weighs things.
It is. And the report also includes the classification report for the ensemble itself, showing its own expected performance.
Okay, one more piece of the puzzle you mentioned was the Monte Carlo simulation. How does that fit in?
Right, the Monte Carlo. This goes back to those goal predictions from the Poisson regression, the 1.50 for NYCFC, 1.52 for Cincy. The simulation essentially takes those average goal rates and plays out the match thousands and thousands of times on a computer. Here, they did it 10,000 times.
10,000 simulated matches.
Yeah. And because goals involve randomness, each simulation will produce a slightly different score line based on those underlying probabilities. By doing it so many times, you get a really clear picture of the probability of each possible outcome: home win, draw, away win.
So it's translating the goal expectancies into outcome probabilities through mass simulation. What did the probabilities look like?
Okay, get this. The Monte Carlo simulation estimates a 37.9% chance of a home win,
Okay, about 38%.
a 24.07% chance of a draw,
Roughly 24%.
and a 38.03% chance of an away win.
Wait, 37.9% home, 38.03% away. That's incredibly close, almost a coin flip between a home or away win.
Exactly. It's practically neck and neck, according to these simulations. And the draw is definitely a strong possibility, too, at nearly 1 in 4. The key takeaway isn't a definite winner, but understanding these likelihoods.
That really paints a picture of a tight contest. Does the Monte Carlo also suggest likely scores?
It does. The most probable single scoreline is a 1-1 draw, with an 11.42% probability.
Okay, 1-1 most likely. What else is up there?
Next is 2-1 for NYCSC at 8.6% probability, then 1-2 for Cincinnati at 8.33%. and then 0-1 for Cincinnati at 7.64%.
So the low-scoring wins and the 1-1 draws seem the most plausible outcomes based on those goal rates.
That's what the simulation suggests, yes. It gives you a more granular feel for how the game might unfold.
Okay, let's try and synthesize all this. We've got some individual ML models pointing different ways, 2 away, 1 home. We have the stacked ensemble, the manager, siding with the home win, and then the Monte Carlo probability showing home and away wins as almost equally likely with a decent chance of a draw.
Yep, that sums it up.
It's definitely not a clear-cut bet the farm on this team kind of prediction, is it?
Not at all. And that conflict, or maybe tension, between the different parts of the analysis is, I think, one of the most valuable outputs. It highlights the complexity and the uncertainty. Different methods are sensitive to different patterns in the data.
So the value isn't necessarily getting the answer, but understanding the range of possibilities and the arguments for each outcome based on the data.
Precisely. It's about appreciating the likelihoods, the nuances, rather than demanding a single crystal ball prediction, which, let's face it, doesn't exist in sports.
Absolutely. This has been a really enlightening look inside the AI's brain, so to speak. Definitely gives you a new perspective on match predictions. So, wrapping up, what are the key takeaways you think we should hold on to from this deep dive?
Well, I think first, it's clear this AI uses a multifaceted approach. Stats for goals, ML models for the result. It's not a simple formula.
Right, comprehensive.
Second, the fact that different models can give different answers is important. It reflects the real-world uncertainty of soccer. Don't expect AI to magically erase that.
Good point. Manage expectations.
And third, the probability analysis, like the Monte Carlo, gives a much richer picture. Thinking in terms of chances, 38% chance of 38% for just 24% is more informative than just picking a winner. It's about understanding the landscape of possibilities.
A landscape of possibilities. I like that. Okay, so final thought then. Given these probabilities, the disagreements, this tight race predicted by the AI, what factors outside this data, things the AI might not see, could actually swing this match on May 4th? Things you'd be looking out for?
Oh, absolutely. That's the million-dollar question, isn't it?
Yeah.
You've got things like individual brilliance, one player having an unexpectedly amazing game.
The human element.
Exactly. Or maybe a surprise tactical switch from a coach. The AI is based on past data. It can't perfectly predict novel strategies. Then there's refereeing decisions, maybe controversial call.
Always a possibility.
Or even just the crowd, the atmosphere on the day influencing player psychology. These intangibles, they're hard for any model to capture fully.
It's a great reminder, isn't it? These tools are incredibly powerful, giving us insights we never had before, but there's still that beautiful, unpredictable human core to sports.
Makes it exciting to watch.
It really does, and it makes you wonder, how these kinds of analytical approaches are evolving, not just in sports, but maybe in other areas too. Anywhere, making predictions under uncertainty is key. Definitely something to ponder.